Good evening, people. I'm JJ,
I'm CJ.
and we are the Radio Twins, and this is the Radio Twins Experience. Here we discuss, or this is our podcast. What we do is we interview very interesting people with interesting backgrounds that may help you. And we like to say, we experience them just as you are as well. If you ever want to follow us on social media, we're on all social media platforms. It's Facebook, Twitter formerly known as X, or X known as however they got it.
X, formerly known as Twitter, but I still call it Twitter.
Right. TikTok, fan base.
You name it, we're
We're on
there.
it. You follow us, we follow you back. If you ever want to know what we're doing, you can always go to our website, which is
www.TheRaydioTwins.com. TheRaydioTwins.com.
And tonight, nothing changes. We always are interviewing individuals, and this particular individual has a very interesting background. His name is Mr. Ollie Harris, better known as Chiva the Man. Good evening. How are you
Good
doing?
evening.
What's going on, guys? You all right?
Again, and thank you for taking the time out to be interviewed by us. And for people who may not know, how did you get your start into the music industry, or at least your musical background?
Okay, so when I was a kid, man, we had a family group called the Voices of Eden, and I might have been about 8 years old, and just kind of just being around my family group, watching them perform. My two sisters and my mother. The group started off with my two sisters and my mother, and then my aunt eventually joined the group. My aunt and my cousin, but when it was just my sisters and my mother, I was like 8 years old, man. I was just, I wanted to be a drummer really bad. And that was my thing. Like I wanted to be like this world renowned drummer. But they wouldn't let me play back then because I was too little. I was too young. But so I think one time one of the drummers that they had couldn't make the gig or something. And they put me on the spot, man. And I did pretty good. So everything kicked off from there. They started letting me play for the group regularly, and I had a nickname back then called Boy Wonder. That was my
It's funny because I love drums myself, but I never had I'm gonna say, the opportunity and the guts, because I was always fearful of crowds. But
right. Yeah, no, and it takes. I mean, 'cause, when you're the drummer, you're basically the foundation of the show.
Right.
I mean, not taking anything else away from any other musician, but the drummer is what keeps the timing, and it's up to you to move the crowd. So, yeah, it's been some times where I was like, ooh, like, am I gonna be able to do this? Because the bigger the crowd is, of course, the more apprehensive you are about what you're doing. But yeah, man, God bless me with the talents and gifts. So it was my pleasure to give them back.
How did you get into songwriting?
Songwriting came from when I was about 15 years old. Bishop Michael Allen Brooks from the group Commission. Him and I met when I was about 15. We met because he was actually playing keys for my family group every now and again. Not all the time, but they would hire him in to play sometimes. And his group Commission had just really kind of started. So they were going on tours and doing gigs, and he knew my hunger for the music industry, and he invited me out, man, to be a roadie. And so I was like packing equipment up, setting stages up. I wasn't like playing on stage with them, but it was just an honor and a privilege to be around those guys, man. Those are like my brothers for life.
Right. He's a fan.
Yeah, man. They listen. I was a fan traveling with them. So it was like I would be out with these guys. I would be at home in Detroit with them, and they were just my bros. But I would go out on a gig with them and see the response that they would get from the audience, packed houses, packed churches, and I'd be like, wow, and that really kind of like made me feel like, yeah, I want to do this. So long story short, he gave me my first opportunity at songwriting. He used to have a workshop in Detroit called the Young Artists for Christ.
Oh, wow.
And he allowed me to write a song, which for me, the song wasn't like, it was okay. I was like, but when I let him hear it, he liked it. And he kind of did his thing to it, added some other things to it production wise. And we ended up recording the record, man. And to my surprise, everybody liked it. I was like, okay, y'all like it.
So would it be safe to say that you have some vocal skills as well as producing and writing?
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I do, but I don't like to use them.
Right.
My sisters, they can sing, my cousins can sing, my nieces, everybody can sing in my family. I can sing, but I'm not a singer.
Okay.
You know, I sing good enough to like demo songs if I write them or something, you know.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
And
that's where it ends for me.
Well,
But
we're in that same group as you because
Right.
a lot of people don't know that's where we started
the
with
non-singers.
singing in
really,
church.
okay,
Yeah,
Right.
we do sing, and we sang in church a lot, and
okay.
so yeah, that's why.
Right.
And you
So
know what? And to be fair, I won't lie. I was approached in 90, I want to say it was like 96, something like that. I was approached by Mercury Records to do a project.
really?
They wanted to sign me as an artist.
Wow.
Oh
And
wow.
I was like,
No.
I was gonna do it. I
Uh-huh.
had coughed up enough nerve to do it, but I was like, nah, this ain't me. I'd rather stay behind the scenes. But it's
Mhm. It's all good
because if you're and you're a good songwriter, so I just assume like if you had, I think you would have blown up.
yeah.
But then again, if you weren't like feeling it at that point, then
Wasn't that the same label that Brian McKnight was on?
and Vanessa
yes,
Williams.
Vanessa Williams, Brian McKnight, yep.
The reason why I'm saying that is because the connection is I was a big Commission fan and he was a big Take Six fan.
Right.
Oh wow, okay,
So
okay,
that's where the connection is. That's why I was like, okay.
nice,
So
yeah.
what was your first major production job?
My first, let's see, my first major production gig had to be. Oh, so are you saying like as far as me being the producer of the song?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my first major one was Yolanda Adams.
Wow.
I did a song on Yolanda Adams on her project called More Than a Melody. It's called the name of the song is called Open Arms. And I did that record.
What?
And yeah. And short story behind that record. Shout out to Park Stewart from Detroit, Michigan. I don't know if you know Parks or not, but Parks is a phenomenal songwriter. He's also a phenomenal artist as well. But
Wow.
I was signed to this production / publishing company in Detroit. They were called Studio A, and Studio A. Shout out to Eric and Marilyn Morganson. They allowed me to come in there and just be who I was. But, they opened the doors to the studio and taught me everything I needed to know about how to work the equipment and all that. And they just gave me like free run of the studio. And while I was doing that, I produced this one track and I gave it to Parks and he wrote a song to it. And
wow.
next thing I know, we're getting a call from Yolanda Adams. Ben Tankard, he called because he was producing her record at that time.
Right.
He called back and was like, "Yo, I love this record. Like, we want it." And I was like, "What?" Like, okay,
What,
like okay, cool. So that was my first major, my first placement.
what went through your mind when you got that call? Like really, what went through your mind?
A little bit of disbelief and a little bit of, I mean, because I was like, Yolanda Adams was Yolanda Adams,
Right.
And you know what? Let me say this too, though, because I can't forget my sister's group Witness. My sister Lisa Page Brooks, her group Witness, they gave me an opportunity prior to that. But as far as like my first time producing a record by myself with just no help, that was Yolanda Adams. But Witness, Michael Brooks and Witness, they did give me an opportunity prior to that to do some productions, to do some drum programming, and I did a song. I produced a track that my sister wrote on one of their projects. But as far as like me just being in the studio by myself with no help, that would be Yolanda Adams.
Oh wow.
Well, I'm in awe anyway because like some of these names, Ben Tanker, Yolanda Adams, Witness, like really, like what? So yeah,
like blown away. Like
right.
Lisa.
Yeah, man, it was
goodness.
So
a lot of fun.
did production and songwriting come easy to you? If you heard a melody, you just kind of went with it, or you just sat somewhere and was like, okay, it's hard, but it'll just come out. What was the
You know what? I'm the type of producer where it has to flow. Like if I'm not feeling it, then I'm just not. You know, there was a time when I was younger where I used to sit in front of the equipment and just like, because I was so excited and like I'm just like happy to be here. I would just like just turn out track after track after track, and then I got to a point where I'm like, I got I got like 10,000 tracks, and you know, so I started getting
We'll
a little
pay
more
for some.
strategic with it. Yeah, you
We'll pay for some.
know? And then
So,
it's like I just started getting more strategic with it, and it was like, well, I started letting it just flow out of me. Once I started doing that,
mhm,
then people really started to pay attention to what I was submitting because I was spending more time in my production and getting my sounds like sonically getting everything right.
mhm.
You know, so
Do you feel like it was as you were getting your sound down pat, and the phone started to ring more? Um, was there ever a time, because it sounds to me like you were doing a lot of production or producing for like gospel artists or Christian artists? Um, did you get, and if you did get it, a lot of calls from the secular side? Hmm.
oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Were
So
you,
you know,
you feel
so
compromised in doing that or no?
no, I didn't. And I came from a very strict background. My mother was an evangelist in the church. I was just, I'm Church of God in Christ. I'm Kojic, so it's like the, anything outside of gospel music is the devil's music.
Right. That's big. Yeah.
That's what we learned too.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
learned.
so I was born and raised on that ideology of if you're not doing gospel, you're going to hell.
Right.
Period. Like you would. And so at first I was a little apprehensive. I was kind of like, I'm scared. I don't know if I should be doing this. But what happened was, short story. What happened was, uh, my uncle, God rest his soul, my uncle Tyrone Ernest, he he introduced me to a young man named we call him Blackface. He's from the streets. So Blackface was associated with this local group called Rock Bottom,
Oh, okay.
from Detroit. They were a local rap group, and
Hmm.
so Blackface. I've been knowing Blackface since he was a teenager. Blackface took me over to one of their studio sessions and introduced me to the head of the label. His name was Rock. So he was like, this is my guy Ollie. He does beats, whatever. So they were working on a project at the time, and so he was like, well, let me hear what you got. So I played him a couple of my so-called rap beats, and he was like, whoa, he loved it.
Uh-huh.
So at that point, it was like he got me in the studio. I did, let's see, one, two. I ended up doing about four different projects on them, which ended up blowing up in the city.
Oh,
It,
wow.
it went crazy in Detroit. It was like they played it on the radio all day, and that was my first experience doing any type of real secular music,
Hmm.
outside of the gospel stuff. And then one thing led to another. Um, I started getting phone calls from a lot of people. Man, I was signed to LL Cool J for like 2 years.
Wow.
His production company. I worked with a lot of artists, man. Yeah, yeah.
How,
Mario Winans. Yeah, I work with a lot of different artists.
wow. How was it working with LL Cool J's label?
It was an experience, man. It was like LL is very like what you see on TV and what you see, that's really him. That's him. There's nothing fake about him. That's who he is. He's very, he's born and raised in Queens, and he's got that Queens, New York attitude. Like, you got to you got to get it how you get it. He didn't like soften any blows. He was just like everything about him was like, carte blanche. This is how the music industry is, and he taught me a lot. I remember when he first signed me, I was going to New York to hook up with somebody else. I was gonna go. I was gonna be in New York anyway,
Hmm.
and so there was this group in Detroit. I forgot their names. Wow, I'm sorry. Y'all, please forgive me if y'all see this, but I forgot their names. Anyway, there was a group. It was three girls.
Hmm.
I think their names were Latisse. I'm not sure, but anyway, these
Hmm.
three girls, they were under development with LL's production company. There was a guy named Ralph Roundtree who was LL's best friend. Ralph Roundtree had these girls like under like this development deal.
Okay.
And so my homeboy Butcher from Lansing, Michigan, he was connected with all that. Butcher called me and was like, "Hey man, these 3 girls, they need some tracks. Like they're in like this development deal." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I gave him some tracks, and I forgot about it. I took him in the studio. I did like 3 or 4 tracks on him. I totally forgot about it. And so I'm sitting in the studio one day, and the phone rings, and the the front desk called me in the studio and was like, "There's a phone call. There's a Ralph Roundtree on the phone for you." I'm like, "Who is this?"
Mm-hmm.
So I answered the call. I'm like, "Yo, what's up?" He was like, "This is Ralph Roundtree. I'm from Rock the Bells." That was the name of the label that LL was starting. I'm from Rock the Bells, and he said, "Hey man, we love your production. We love what you did on the girls." I didn't know that LL's name was Todd, so he said Todd wants to fly you out to New York to meet you. He wants to do some work with you. I'm like, "Who is Todd?" So I'm on the phone. I'm like, "Man, stop playing." So I'm ready to hang the phone up. I'm like, "This is a joke, like whatever." I'm like, "Who is Todd?" He was like, "LL Cool J." So when he said that, I was like, I kind of froze on the phone, like, what?
Mm-hmm.
So long story short, man, because it's so many components to the story. Long story short, I was already on my way to New York anyway. So I told him, I said, "Well, when I get there, I'm already on the way out there." I said, "Once I get there, let's hook up." So me and my partner, we went out there because I had a production partner at that time. Shout out to Alex Morris, and we went to New York. We went there to do work with somebody else, but that ended up not happening.
Wow.
So I'm in New York. I'm in Jersey actually. We're sleeping on the floor of this girl's apartment because we didn't have nowhere to go. And I'm saying to myself, "Well, I'm supposed to hook up with LL." I'm like, "But they ain't called me yet. I haven't heard anything." So me and my production partner, man, we like, "Let's go back home. We about to fly back to the crib. We like, we out of here. Like they playing around." The day we said that, about maybe a few hours after we made up our minds to leave, we got the phone call. They was like, "Meet us at the Shark Bar in Manhattan."
Wow.
So we ended up going to the Shark Bar that night. We met with we were waiting outside, and I like telling the story, man, because it's hilarious. We're standing outside of the Shark Bar, waiting on LL to come.
Okay.
And so we're standing there, and like 2 hours go by, and nothing happens.
What?
All of a sudden, I hear my music playing. And I know my music. I know what it sounds like. I hear one of the tracks I did for the girl group. I hear it playing out loud on like this big PA system. I'm like, "What is?" And I'm looking down the street, and I see this red Suburban come flying up the street. It's LL and all his bodyguards. They're bumping this track I did, hanging out the windows. They pull up in front of the Shark Bar. They get out. He grabs me by the neck, like, "Welcome to Rock the Bells." I'm like, "This is not happening."
Right. Right.
It was crazy, man. But we went there, we had dinner, and he signed me that night. I got signed that night.
Wow.
Yeah.
What,
So
what,
yeah,
what was the beat that you used, or if you remember the name of it that he used?
I have no idea.
That
That was so long. Let me see.
wow.
That was so long ago. It was wow, yeah. I don't. It was something I did. I remember it had like this guitar in there. It was like a guitar I sampled or something, and it was really a simple track. It was nothing really,
Right.
phenomenal about it to me.
So
But
no. So has it ever been a time where you created something that was so like mind blowing where you didn't even want to part with it?
Right.
Yeah.
Were there times that you did part with it and you were
I
like, okay,
did. Yeah, there was a few. Okay, so I did this one song for Karen Clark. And she was working on her project at the time. So I did the record. She heard it and loved it. But, the music industry can be a little,
Fickle sometimes.
up and down, some very business. It's all about business, actually.
right.
So she loved the record, but somehow I missed the project. I forgot exactly what happened, detail for detail. I missed the project, but I loved the record so much. I was like, dang. So I let my sister hear it. My sister Lisa Brooks hear it. She ended up doing it, which ended up being one of her biggest records to this day. It's called No Other God. And she ended up doing that record for me. But I was so in love with that track. I was like, that was one of my tracks I was trying to hold on to, like, but it was my sister, and I was like, well, if anybody can get it,
It's
since Karen is not going to take it, I'd rather give it to family. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
And yeah, I let her and Bishop Brooks hear it, and they loved it, man. They loved it.
If you had to, what out of the years that you've been in the industry, what was the best piece of advice you ever got? You don't have to say names, but you know.
Best piece of advice I ever got was from Dallas Austin. Dallas Austin. I remember being. I was. This is crazy, man. I have to give Mario Winans a huge shout out because me and Mario Winans grew up together. I've been knowing Mario Winans since we were like 6 years old, 7 years old.
Wow.
So we literally grew up together. Okay. So he ended up getting a production deal with Dallas Austin. And he's one of the only people who really kept it 100 with me. Like, and I know a lot of people in the music industry, but he's one of the only guys that actually did what he said he was going to do. So I was in Detroit, and he was down. I live in Atlanta right now. He was down here in Atlanta with Dallas Austin, and he called me one day and was like, "Hey man, I need you to come down here with me." He was like, "I'll send for you." So I was like, "Okay, cool." And he sent me the money to get down here. I drove my car. I was leasing a Honda Accord. So you know, when you leasing a car, you're not supposed to put that many miles on it.
Right.
But I was like, forget it. I'm going to get this money. so I drove my leased Honda. I went way over my miles. But I drove my Honda down here, and long story short, man, he took me in and showed me the ropes. But he was working with Dallas Austin at the time. He was working with a lot of other people as well, but he was also working with Dallas. And Mario Winans allowed me to be in the sessions with Dallas and him. I learned a lot from Dallas, man. And Dallas Austin taught me that when it comes to production, be who you are. Don't be any other variation of who you really are.
Right.
Because it will bleed through your music. People can hear your authenticity in your music, and they can tell whether you just kind of just putting music together or you really into what you're doing.
Right.
So that was a piece of advice I got from him that stuck with me. You know what I'm saying?
You know, one of the things that and a lot of people don't realize is that when we came up in music, at least trying to know what music was, most people would pay attention to the songs.
Yeah.
We pay attention to the producer
Mm-hmm.
and the writer. We've seen your name a few times, and
Mhm.
that's another thing as to why we would think you are interesting, because to hear stories like that, and we were fans of songwriters and producers such as Dallas Austin, Mario Winans, and it's like in yourself, and it's like, how did you realize? Which leads me to this question: even though that was good advice to you, did you ever find that someone gave you bad advice? No, you don't have to give no names. That you just yourself, nope, no, I'm glad I didn't listen to that personal person's.
Let's see. Did somebody give me bad advice before? Probably so. I'm pretty sure I heard some terrible advice before. Yeah. I won't call any names out. You know, it's like this, man. Like, everybody thinks they know how to sell millions of records until it's time to do it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
when it's easy for me to say, "Oh man, that's a hit. That's a hit record," because I like it. You know what I'm saying? But are the people gonna like it? Are you making music for the listening audience, or are you making music for yourself? Because it's a total difference. Now, I'm not saying in any way that making music for yourself is bad.
Right.
But what I am saying is, if you want to be involved in the music industry, then you have to sometimes make music that you don't like to make. And I had somebody tell me one time, like, well, it doesn't matter whether they like it or not. It's just, as long as I'm like, see,
Wow.
no, that's not good advice. That's not.
Right.
That would be some bad advice that somebody gave me, because it does matter if other people like your music. To me, this is just my take on it.
Right.
It does matter to me if you like what you hear from me. You know what I'm saying? And I like to I like to make sure that everything I produce, and sometimes, people look at me like, that's how I got the name Chiva, because when I was younger, I was considered an overachiever.
Oh,
so,
okay, okay.
so I
Well,
just took that Chiva out of that and made Chiva the man. But
well,
but yeah, just the whole thing of me wanting people to like my music has always been a thing with me. I want you to love what you hear from me.
definitely.
And sometimes that can get in my way sometimes.
Well, now the flip side of that, have you ever received any bad advice that at the time seemed bad, but then as time went on, you kind of realized
That it wasn't.
it wasn't, and it really made sense, and you started to see, okay, well, at the time, because we all get in our ways when someone's trying to give us some advice, and
Uh-huh.
at the time you're like, oh my gosh, that's why you even say that, that's bad
Yeah.
advice. Then later on you realize that it was good, and it makes.
Um, Not really. I'll say there has been some things that was said to me that I took the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that. And I mean some good advice too. But at the time, I was feeling myself, and I felt like, well, nah, I like it. And so, that's, but at the same time, um, I would advise anybody, man, if somebody's giving you any type of constructive criticism, just close your mouth and open your ears more,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can, because I don't know everything, and just because somebody is not doing what I do does not mean that they're not right in what they're saying. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So I have had people give me constructive criticism that I didn't like at first, but it panned out to be something that, like, they were right. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a time where I was making, like, all my BPMs on my records were like slow, right? I don't know, I was like in this slow ballad mid-tempo, music making type of mode. And
Mm-hmm.
I had this guy that I know named Kirk Woods. He used to actually uh work with Dallas Austin. And Kirk Woods told me one time, he said, "Hey man," he said, "you need to speed up some of your records." He was like, and he was just being honest. He was like, some of your records sound depressing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I took offense to that at first. I was like, what are you talking about? What? But after I got over the initial, shock of what he said,
Right.
um, I took into consideration what he said and was like, all right, let me try that. And the moment I started speeding my records up to faster tempos, I got started getting more phone calls for work, because that was another aspect of what I was doing that people wanted to hear. Everybody doesn't want slow mid tempo. A lot of people, they want to be jumping around. You know what I'm saying? So
Did you? And okay, one of the things you said was you were known to be an overachiever, which I don't think is wrong at all. And I respect that. Did you ever you being an overachiever, did you ever get to a point where somebody might have asked you to dumb down some?
yes,
Wow.
yes,
How did
yeah.
you feel and how did you deal with it?
It was initially when they first would say it to me, because it was more than one person that told me that. Okay, like the guy from Rock Bottom I told you about before. That was his whole thing. When I first met him, my music was very busy, because I just wanted you to know everything I can do. I wanted to put everything I can do into my music. And
Mm-hmm.
so he was like, man, he was like, it doesn't take all that. All we need is just we want the bass, we want the drums, and we want, maybe a little sample. And we don't need all the other stuff. And I was like, why not? Like, no, this is what you need. He was like, no, that's not what we want. And he was actually the first person that told me that told me I need to dumb it down some. And then it was several people after that in the music industry um, that told me the same thing. Like, your music is a little too busy. You should dumb it down. And then once I got that, up here, it was like, okay, now all my music is like, I try to keep it like right here. And like now, even when I produce a record right now, I'll do the meat of the record, and then I'll try to write something to it, because my wife is a writer as well. So I'll give it to her and I'll say, well, see what you can do with this. I just want to see where it goes while it's here.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I hear the lyrical content, then I'll start getting other ideas to try to take it to another level. And then sometimes I'll leave it where it is. I have records out right now where it is what it is. It's the drums, bass, and some keys, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But Yeah, I've had several people tell me to dumb it down. And like I said, you have to be able to take that constructive criticism, man. You have to.
That solves the one question that I did have, which was, are you still doing records? But you just answered that question.
I am not like I used to. I used to be like crazy with it, but I still now I'm more like if it makes sense, if the money is right, and if, you know,
It,
I'm older now, man. So back then I was going crazy. But
it what comes first, the music or your lyrics, or it doesn't make a difference?
with me, because I'm a producer and a musician first, the music 85% of the time comes first.
Okay.
There are times where I'll hear like lyrics. I got this one song, my niece, Tasha Page Lockhart. I did a song for her just recently.
Oh wow.
It's called Yahweh, and it's not. She hasn't even released it yet. She hasn't even actually finished. It's not even mixed yet. But how that song came about was I was riding in my car,
Mm-hmm.
and
She did a live. She did a live recording not too long ago. Am I right?
yes, she did a live
Ah,
recording. Actually, the song I'm talking about right now is going to be on that project. It's a
oh wow.
studio. It's a studio song that she because she has to do like a few studio records to add on to her live
Oh,
recording. And so she came to me and was like, "Unc, I need something from you."
mm-hmm.
So that's my niece. I'm never gonna tell her no. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "All right," but I didn't have anything. I was drawing a blank. I had a couple of tracks already, and I was like, "Nah," because I'm very critical about certain. I'm like, "Nah, I don't want that for her." So and then now where I'm at now, I'm more tapped into God right now. I'm back then I was just running wild. I was crazy. I was doing dumb stuff, getting high, doing stupid stuff, man. Now I'm tapped into God. Now I'm more so I want everything I'm doing to come from God. So
Mm-hmm.
I was riding along in the car, and I kept hearing Yahweh in my head, and so I just started singing. I won't sing the hook because I don't want to give her record away, but
Right.
I was singing the hook. It just started coming to me. The lyrics came to me, the melody came to me, and so I was like, okay, so I got this melody and I got these lyrics. I'm like, but I don't have music for it.
Right.
And the Lord spoke to me and was like, you got a track in your computer right now that'll fit that.
Oh wow.
And so I was like, what? I was like, okay. So I get home, and when I got home, that the track that the Lord revealed to me to put with the lyrics and the melody, it was a perfect marriage. It was like I listened to the track and I started singing the music. I started singing the melody and the lyrics, and I was like,
There it is.
I was like, okay, this is it. And when I let her hear it, because I wrote the hook, and I had my daughter and my wife demo the hook with me,
Oh
and
wow.
so we demoed the hook, and that's all I had was the hook.
Uh-huh.
And I sent it to Tasha, and that night she finished the record, all the rest of the lyrics.
Wow.
So yeah, she knocked it out. When you hear this record, it's a phenomenal record, man. It's
Oh, if you just one big favor, because
fun.
we love her and her mom. Like, whoo!
Mm.
Please tell her she has some fans over here, because the
Absolutely.
last couple projects she's dropped have just been
And I'm sure she probably don't
crazy.
remember. We got a chance to meet her the
Uh-huh.
first year she after she won the Sunday's Best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
And nice then, and I can't wait for her to drop this new stuff. That especially since now I know that you wrote something as well. It's like,
yeah, yeah.
And
I,
that's
I,
why
I
we
think
think it's. Go
I
ahead. Go
think I
ahead.
might. I was gonna say. I'm sorry. I'm gonna cut you off. I was gonna
No, you're
say.
good.
I think I might have two on there. I gave her this other remix. I did a remix from a old BB and CC Winans record. I remixed it for her, and so she's writing to that. She's killing it, man. She's just so super talented, man.
Mm.
No words for her. She's out there. She's out.
whew,
And we kind of relate, because you said everything that you are doing now, musically, life in general,
Yeah.
just has to be showered in and with God, and
Yes.
that's kind of the vibe that we're
we're
on
on.
right now. And
Right.
it's like, if it's not about that, then and lately that's all we've been doing. We don't even check for R&B as much as we used to anymore. It's just
Mhm.
we go straight to gospel.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, absolutely, man. I'm there with y'all right now, man. Because I was just telling my wife. I said, I've done a lot of. I work with Jagged Edge. I work with Sierra. I
Oh.
work with. This is no name drop. I'm
Hmm.
saying all this to get to my point. I
Mm-hmm.
work with Jagged Edge. I work with Sierra. Um, I was actually signed to a company called Red Zone that did Beyonce's Single Ladies, and they did Rihanna's Umbrella. So
Right.
I've been under some heavy hitters.
Mm-hmm.
But and I've watched the music industry on the R&B and hip hop side. I've watched it go from where it was to where it is now, and it's like it's different, man. It's like nothing against, and I don't want anybody to think I'm spitting any venom against the new artists, because I'm not. A lot of new artists I do like, but it's just, and then plus, like I said, man, I'm more tapped into God right now anyway. So for me right now, gospel is my lick.
Right.
That's really what I'm tuned into right now, more so. Not to say now, if you want to pay me to do, if Rihanna wants to come and give me a big check to do something, I'm gonna do it.
Right. So what for aspiring writers such as us and those in the world watching this, what would be the one piece of advice that you would like to give us?
Stay at it, man. Don't ever give up. That's the key. No matter what happens, no matter what you go through, like, because there's a scripture in the Bible that says the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's very, very familiar scripture, and a lot of people know it. But that musically happened to me. Like, the devil really tried to steal everything that I loved about music. By showing me things that did not happen for me. Like, where, that didn't happen. You almost got that, but it didn't happen, and just showing me all the negative things that went on in my career. And I got to a point where I was like, I'm done. Like, and a lot of people laugh at me. A lot of my friends be like, oh man, you always say that, but I just came back from a point where I was like, I'm done, man. Like, it's not making any sense. I don't love it like I used to love it. And I had to, what it really was I had to step away from it for a second and reintroduce myself to it through another channel. Because the path that I was on before was like, it was just like, it was going nowhere with me.
Right.
So once I stepped away from it, and I started, to tap more into God, I started reading my word, and I wasn't really even thinking about music, man, for the last, I want to say maybe the last 5-6 months. I wasn't doing anything. I was like, whatever. And then all of a sudden, it was like a light just came on. And was like, okay, it's time to come back to it. So that's where I'm at now. I'm in that stage now where I'm like, okay, I have a love for it again, and God has placed a love for me, a love for music back in me again. But just keep doing it, man. Don't ever stop. Don't ever let anything stop you from reaching any goal or any dream that you have, man. Just keep at it. It may take a while, you know what I'm saying? It may take years, but don't ever stop doing it.
Okay. I'm gonna bring up 4 letters. You tell me what's the first thing that comes to mind, okay?
Okay.
ESPN.
Okay, so I know what you're talking about. Okay, so I did that's funny, man. My nephew, shout out to JP, my nephew, he's a producer as well. He's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal producer. But me and my nephew did a beat together with some other guys that we know, the Democrats. And we did this beat, man. They sent the sample over to me and was like, we got this sample, like, man, see what you can do with it. So I put some drums to it and a couple of instruments, and I sent it back. So they went in the studio and finished it up. Once again, I forgot about it. And I got a phone call a few weeks ago. It's telling me that ESPN picked the record up to play on their NBA Today show, the NFL Live. So it's in rotation right now on ESPN right now. The name of the artist is called Rahz, Rahz, and the name of the song is called Hall of Fame.
Wow.
So God opened that door for me, man, because and that's what God does, man. He's like, you'll do something and you'll forget about it, and because I pray over everything I do. When every track I make, I'll be like, Lord, I did the track, now it's in your hands. Place it where it should go. And I prayed over that record, man, and ESPN picked it up. So
wow.
Yeah.
Now we're going to we like to call it the Radio Twins fill in the blanks.
Okay.
We start off the statement and you fill in the statement with what you feel at that moment. All right.
Okay.
All right. I could never have predicted.
That's a good one. I could never have predicted that. I got a lot of those, man. Because you're stumping me. Okay, so okay. I'll say this, and this is a shout out to my wife. I would have never predicted that coming from the relationship I was in prior to me meeting my wife. I never thought I would ever find true love and fall in love again.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because of what it wasn't like it was some like crazy like abusive relationship or nothing. But it's just that when I got out of my first relationship, it was like I wanted to take some time and just breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And her and I ended up writing the songs together. That's how we met.
See, wow.
She was signed to the same production company as I was. So we met, and she was a lot younger than me, and still is. But and I was I was like, well, in my mind, I'm thinking this is just we just writing songs together, nothing. But we connected, and here we are, 22 years later. We've been married 18 years. Yeah.
That's what's up.
So this next question is sort of like right into that. The key to happiness is
God.
True. That is
That's
so
so
true.
true.
That's the key to happiness, man. I'll tell anybody that. Money doesn't do it. I've had a lot of money. I've been in some big rooms with some big names, and all of that pales in comparison to my relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, because you never want to have material things and have a God void. There's this thing that people don't understand. Like, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have God, you're still empty. You don't have a God. You have a God void. So it's so many, and I won't call any names out, but I personally know some people who are very wealthy and can afford to buy anything they want to buy, and they go home at night and they're miserable.
Wow.
Because they don't have God in their lives, and they're looking to their money and their fame and their popularity to be that God.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll never work. That's never going to work.
You will never regret.
Do I have any regrets? I do. I don't have any regrets. I will never regret. Ooh. I will never regret. That's a good one. Because I don't really have regrets. Well, I used to, but I let them go. But
That's a good thing then. That's
yeah,
good.
I found a way to release my regrets. I will never regret going through all the tumultuous bad times I've been through.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because it taught me a lot.
It made you who you are today.
Right.
I'm very strong off of all my bad times I went through. So I don't regret that. I'll never regret that.
But you might wish you had.
I might wish I had what? Like,
done something, been somewhere
differently, maybe.
Just anything.
I
That's
might,
what he came up with these questions, and it's usually how we stump people because they're just like, wow, that's
you
a good
stumping me. You stumping me. You
right.
get So you're asking me, what do I wish I would have done?
Per se, yeah.
Okay. I wish I would have. You know what, man? I'm gonna say this. I wish I would have went to college.
Wow.
I never went to. When there's a movie called School Days that Spike Lee produced back in the day.
Yep.
One of my all-time favorite. I love that. I will watch that movie right now all day long. I'll do a marathon all day.
I think I know what you're ready to say.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're ready to say.
I love that movie, and it's just the fact that when I watch that movie, I'd be like, man, like I should have went to college, because I look at that movie and I'm like, I see the Black experience that is portrayed in that movie, and I'm like, that could have been me And on top of that, it's just I chose the music industry over going to college.
Mm-hmm.
I chose to dive headfirst into the music industry because I had the opportunity. I could have graduated from high school and went straight to college and did all that, but I chose not to. I said music is what I want to do, and so um, if there's anything I wish I would have done, if that's what the question is, then that would be it. That would be it.
Well, you still got time.
I do, I do, I absolutely. And you know what's so crazy? I was telling my wife that I said, you know what? I said, I'm 52 years old, man. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm 52 years old. I'll be 53 December 1st, and I'm proud of my age. And I'm like, man, listen. I told my wife, I said, I don't know. I said, I might want to go to college. She was like, well, go for it, man. Do
Yeah, you definitely.
very encouraging. So, that's why I love her so much.
But in a side note, that's pretty much why we went to college, because we saw things like not the Cosby Show, Different World, and
Yeah.
School Days,
Right.
and that's what made us, and our dad always wanted us to be in school, but he never got to see us graduate. But that was the one thing we wanted to do. We wanted to experience it, so we chose.
Yeah.
I
And
was against it though.
I wish I would have, man, because being from Detroit, Michigan, I used to go to all the icebreakers at the old college, at the Michigan State and the U of M. I was up there for all the parties, all of that.
Right.
But and then just being on the college campus every now and again, I'll be riding through the college campus like, dang, I wish I'd have did this, man. So shout out to both of y'all for doing that, man. Like,
Thank you.
yeah, no, for real, for real.
The biggest risk I ever took was
Biggest risk I ever took. I'm actually taking it right now.
Oh, okay.
So, a lot of people that know me know I can cook.
Mm-hmm.
So, my whole family, I'm known in my family for being able to cook very well. So, right now, at this very moment, I'm taking a risk. I'm opening up a wing business. It's called Shirley's Wings.
Okay.
My mother, God rest her soul, I named it after my mother. And so, I'm doing this business right now, man, and it's a risk. But
I
you know
think
what?
that's
No risk, no reward. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So, but I'm kicking it off the ground right now, and that would be my risk right now at this very moment. Yeah.
Thank you. Because you said a word. Because right now we're in the midst of that same type of vibe where we're trying to figure out what's next.
Yeah.
Against taking a risk. So thank
Right.
you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you just kind of helped my mindset right now.
I think it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, you've already said that you came up with your name because you're an overachiever.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The name is wrapped in that,
Yes.
and you want to do it.
Right.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm very headstrong about, like, when I make this. Like, I used to have a pizza company called Chiva's Gourmet Pizza.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I was slinging pizzas like dope. But I ran into some stumbling blocks business wise. There was some licensing that I needed that I couldn't get my hands on. And it's, for people who don't know, when starting a business, man, it's very expensive. It can be very expensive to kick off a business,
Right.
depending on what you're doing. And that type of business I was doing, the pizzas, it was lucrative, but it was also like a lot of hurdles. So I let it go. I didn't quit. I just kind of just put it down. And now basically what I'm doing is with the Shirley's Wings right now. What I'm doing now is that's basically Chiva's Gourmet Pizza revamped.
Right.
And I'm just doing wings instead of pizza because wings are kind of easier to get up out of here. But yeah, man, it's just, no risk, no reward, like I said before.
And never be impressed by.
Never be impressed by money.
Okay.
Even though we need it, even though money is something that we do need in life, because you got to eat, you got to live, you got to pay your mortgages and your rent and your car notes and insurance. That's important. But money doesn't impress me. It just doesn't. And I'm talking about even when I had it, it did. I would have it and I'd be like, okay, so I got money. Like, I would still want people around me.
Right.
You still want people around you. You still want company. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have any friends or anybody to share it with or powwow with and kick it with, and you just somebody that's rich and lonely.
Yeah.
So
You stated earlier, the guy that you said you knew a few that they can buy anything in the world, but they don't have the love of God. So it's like,
right.
yeah,
just living to be living.
yeah,
That's crazy.
absolutely.
And the last one is, I hope people will remember me most for.
For my loyalty and my immediate, I feel like, and this is no brag, this is a fact. I feel like I'm one of the most genuine people you ever meet in your life. And my loyalty sometimes is to a fault. Um, it's just I'm a people person. I love people. I love being around. I love talking to people. Sometimes to my wife be like we're walking through the mall sometimes, and I'm like, I'll stop and talk to the people at the kiosk and be like, what you got? My wife was like, babe, we gotta go. Come on. I'm like, nah, like, hold on, let me see what they're doing. So I'm a people person, man. So I will want to be remembered because I'm a very loyal and genuine person, and I like helping people, man. Like any way I can help you, I'm gonna do it. Whatever it is, I'm helping you. You know what I'm saying? No matter what it is. So
Us.
Are you a Gemini?
No.
Sag.
Okay.
You basically just described us. We don't mind helping people, but I think even to a fault, we are loyal to a fault.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and I just say that's just the overflow of love God gave us. So,
Right.
and even though we know that even in the line, the stuff that we do to help people, there's always going to be, liars and cheats and things like that.
Users.
So, but,
Yeah.
and, we're used to it at this point, but we know what to look for and not to look
Absolutely.
for.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. And I just want to, I want to shout out both of y'all, man, for what y'all doing, man. Like this platform that you have right here
thank
is
you.
like
Thank you.
it's really nice, man. I'm proud of y'all, and I'm praying that God lays His hand on what you're doing right now, and it just blows up and goes phenomenal, goes crazy, man, for real.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Really appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
If people wanted to get in contact with you, songwriting, producing, um, shout out to Rihanna.
Right. Yeah. Put that in the
Right.
atmosphere. There you go.
Right. There you go.
Exactly. And they wanted to get in contact with you, how would they do it?
On Instagram, I'm at Chiva the Man. You can hit me in my DMs the right way.
Right.
And I'm on Facebook as Ollie Harris. Yeah. You
Okay.
can email me at Chiva the Man. My Gmail is at chivatheman.com. And yeah, man, those are the three main ways you can get in touch with me.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah.
And before we end this, we just definitely want to say we appreciate you taking the time out to be interviewed by us.
Man, thank you.
And thank you because your story is very interesting. The fact, and I guess the thing that we leaned on most was the fact that you're a songwriter and you're in music, and that's one of the things that got us. So
Yeah. I
definitely.
appreciate y'all, man. It's been my pleasure, man. This has been a real pleasure for me.
And
Thank
now I'm
you.
just going to, after this interview, I'm just going to go up and look up all the
So
songs
you
you've
just
ever
did.
because I'm like, some of them I really didn't know. Like, I
Right.
knew about a few of them, but like, I was like, oh, okay, I got to do my research now.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's been a great journey, man. And I know God is not finished with me yet. I know there's so much more in store that He has for me. So I'm here for it, man. And hopefully y'all be seeing my name on the back of some more projects.
Definitely.
Most,
And one of the projects is the one with Tasha. So we definitely
yes.
there
Yeah.
two purchase maybe because I like to have one in the car, one in my
Yeah.
backpack, and one on
Right.
my phone. So
Right.
And sidebar, I'm working. My sister has summons me to work on her project as well. So I'm actually working with Lisa Page Brooks in her project right now as well. So be
we'll be
looking out
buying
for
that too.
Yes, we'll be purchasing that too.
Definitely.
Not even a question.
Again, thanks, man. We appreciate you taking the time out to be interviewed by us, the Radio Twins Experience. Anytime you want to come be interviewed for something, I don't know. I don't care if it's your music,
Just let us know.
or even your shop,
Absolutely.
even your
Shop.
Miss Shirley's.
Okay.
Definitely let us know.
Mhm.
All right.
As soon as I get everything up and going, I'm gonna contact you, man, because I would love to get back on here and talk about that. Kind of hype that up a little bit,
Definitely.
if you would allow me.
Oh yeah,
Most
definitely.
definitely, most definitely. You
Okay.
see, I got commission in my head now. Love is the key because I'm like, I haven't heard that in a minute, so I got to go back and listen to all of it.
Definitely.
Thank you.
No problem, man. Thank y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ollie Harris, aka Chiva the Man. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all, man. Y'all, God bless y'all, man.
All right.